Hi everyone, it's Sandra Lee from Women on Transition, and if you just joined me, you're listening live to one of our weekly regular podcasts, and this week it's on co-parenting and navigating family dynamics. It's bloody tough, and we really want to unpack how tough it is and how to get through it in a way that's respectful and also coming from a place of you feeling like you can turn around and say, well, I feel like I did a really good job or as good a job as I could. Our circumstances are all different. We come from a place of maybe your kids are young, maybe they're teenagers, maybe you and your partner are first time married. You've come out of that marriage with or relationship with kids, and you are now navigating, access and schools and pickups and days and outings and costs and also maybe payments and things as well. Or it could be that you and your partner, second time around, both of you have got your own families, and now you've come together, you've had a relationship and you've broken up. So now you've got stepkids that you're still wanting to stay in contact with, or maybe you've got stepkids you don't want to be in contact with. So there's a real mix of everyone's situation being so different, and we want to unpack what some of the things it could be, strategies and tools and I guess techniques, but ways that you can be able to pull out that toolbox when you need it and come up with some practical ways that you can move forward. So here we go. We're going to deep dive into co-parenting, navigating family dynamics, and a few slides that I've put together here for you as well. So this one here is it's a journey of transformation. And each year, would you believe, around 50 to 60,000 children experience, this is in Australia, their parents separating, and approximately 1 in 5 Australian children, about 1 million, will experience parental separation before the age of 18. So these figures underscore the prevalence of co-parenting arrangements across the country and how relevant and how important they are, that we go in with a strategy and we go in with a way that we can make sure that the number one important thing is not just ourselves, but our kids get through this unscathed or as unscathed as possible, navigating their emotions and really masterminding the way that we're approaching it in an adult way. And we are the adults in the relationship that's broken down. The kids are the kids, and it's about making sure that we keep that status quo without us ending up having our kids, which happens in some situations that I've seen, ending up with the kids actually parenting the parents. And as we roll through the emotional landscape of co-parenting, we've got the children's emotions, and we've got our own, and we've got our ex-partners as well. And the kids, and I'm saying children, but this is anywhere from 0 to 18 and sometimes even older. But this time I'm talking about more around co-parenting. So the co-parenting when we've got kids in a place of us taking custody, or right through to shared parenting arrangements as well, to the ones that as they start getting over 18, maybe they're still living at home, and that impacts them significantly as well. So the kids' emotions, the children do need stability through this period, and reassurance that your consistency helps them feel secure during the change. And one of the things that I was very conscious of through my separation, when I first separated, my kids were 5 and 8. And my first husband, I've been married, I had 2 divorces, been married 3 times, but 2 divorces. And my first husband, he left the family home. It was, I won't go into the reasons why, but certainly he moved away, and he moved away 3 hours away. So we went through from this age of 5 and 8. I chose to stay in the family home, and I wanted to keep the kids in a stable space and place. And to do that, I had to go into significant debt and to pay him out and to stay there and to be able to mortgage the house to do it. But I chose to do that. And as a result, the kids were going to the same local school and in the same situation. And he had the kids, our arrangement was every second weekend. So I had to work out how to get these 5 and 8-year-old, 2 kids down to him while I was still working on a Friday afternoon after school, and then be back in time for me to operate my business, which opened on Saturdays at 8 o'clock in the morning. It opened. So either I did a 6-hour return trip on a Friday, and I tried to different times to talk him into meeting me halfway, that I just met him and I would meet him halfway on the Sunday when we did a return as well. But he refused. He said, you bring them down and I'll bring them back. And so, you don't always end up in a situation that you are 100% in favor of to start with. And, we had a very tough separation, and it was very a lot of domestic violence earlier on in the relationship, right through to when we separated. There was a lot of threats and a lot of I guess threats to the kids and to me as well. And that he was, if he didn't get to see the kids, the threat was that he would take them. So I was very fearful even of him, of releasing the kids into his care. And he'd never looked after them or cared for them throughout the time that we had even been together. So I was really conscious of the fact that he'd never spent a day with them. So I was thinking, how's he going to look after these kids, on a day-to-day? And they did come back sunburnt. They did come back with things that weren't ideal, and they came back, having just lived off ice cream. But at the end of the day, the kids did survive, and they did grow, and they did understand that rules at Dad's place were different to the rules at Mum's place, and they grew within that. And it was about me withholding the respect of not bagging him out and not bad mouthing him to the kids, and ensuring that the kids grew up in an environment that they felt that they could come to me and share with me things that they weren't comfortable with or were comfortable with, and wanted to share celebrations as well that they'd had with their dad. So I really moved out of a place of me having the relationship with their father to them having the relationship with their father, and me enabling it to be a healthy one. So I started creating a space for the kids to be able to communicate directly with their dad. They rang him up and organised what time. They said, we're on our way, we're going to head now. They were the ones that would text. I bought them a phone at a young age just for them to use for this reason. I even packed with them. I packed stuff in their bags when they went to their dad's. There was some 2-minute noodles and not the most healthiest, but some fruit, and they both always had a little stash cash. It was like $20 that they could have that was hidden away if they needed to have a bit of emergency money as well. So I started looking at what can I do to eliminate all the things that I'm stressing about all the time, that they weren't eating healthy and they weren't eating properly and they weren't brushing their teeth. And all, I thought, well, seriously, it's, not brushing their teeth once or twice a fortnight's not going to kill them. But having some healthy food choices is a good thing, but still it's up to them to do it. And so I started creating what was going to work and how I could take the stress of me out of it, because whenever I was with their dad, it created a lot of anxiety and stress and anger from him, and usually abuse. So I didn't want the kids to be experiencing that either. So the communication stepped out, I stepped out, and the communication stepped up, that they were the ones that were in the control, and the relationship really started to improve from there, and started to become civil. And to the point, it did take a little bit of time, like a few years. It did get to the point that we were able to, even wave or acknowledge or say, oh, here's the kids' school report or the school photos, and hand them over at the time, or I'd send them with the kids. So it did take a bit of time to evolve and to develop that, but certainly laying down some strong ground rules with the kids to start with on their mum and dad still love them, and both of them were able to then go in and not be the go-between between their mum and dad as well. Communicating with your co-parent, I looked at it as a business-like approach. So my business brain, my logistics brain, I actually printed out a calendar with the school holidays in it, and I got the kids to take it to their dad when they went there for the weekend. And I said, these are the holidays for the year, because he had them for half the holidays. And I said, ask Dad which half he'd like you for, but I want you to mark in there if you've got a birthday party you've got to go to, or some special event or something, so that he knows in advance. And then he can make a decision with a full round of information. So he wasn't able to work a year ahead. He couldn't do that. But what we did do was we did a term ahead. And so we worked term by term. At the start of each term, the kids would go there with their calendar for the year. It'd show him, the calendar for the next few months. It would show him where the school holidays were and what was happening in the term. And then he could choose what he came to and what he supported and what he wanted to be a part of. This gave him the power, and it also gave the kids the control to be able to let their dad know that they had netball grand final or something that was important coming up as well. So I looked at it like not as ex-partners, but almost like a transactional thing, that it was a clear, concise, and focused on the outcome, which was the kids getting to see their dad with no drama, no stress, and no nastiness, and in a really respectful way as well. Certainly nowadays, you've got the digital tools that I didn't have back in the olden days. So just maintaining that clear and transparent communication by using digital tools to document interactions. And it could be even that you have shared Google Drives. It could be other things you're already thinking of, but it's certainly being able to share documents and paper and things. Mine was the old, I used to print it off and send or email it, but there's a lot more that you could be getting around behind now, or shared calendars even, that you even and you could have a family calendar in Google Drive or set up a one on your Gmail that everyone can see and has invitations sent to, showing when the kids have got events on or school assemblies and things that everyone's invited to. He was always invited to, and he was always aware of all the school assemblies. He chose not to come, but the kids could see that he was aware of them, and that was something that he was included in. And at the end of the day, then that relationship came back to him having a relationship or not, or choosing with his kids what he attended and what he didn't. It made a lot less stressful, I will say, for me, but it also made the kids a lot more understanding of the situation, and that it wasn't mum stopping him or wasn't mum blocking him, which is what he was saying at some stages. So navigating the new normal, transition, smooth handover, reduce stress, keep them brief, positive and child focused. So I literally would take the kids, take them to the front of the house, drop them off. But early days, when it was tough, I used to have someone with me in the car. So I used to have my mum with me, or a family member, one of my friends, my girlfriends, because I knew that the behavior that he carried out when he carried on was always better when someone else was around. So I also felt a bit safer, and I would do it quite often in early days in a public place, and even at McDonald's or a cafe. So if he was late, which occurred, we could get there and I could get the kids something to eat. They could go to the toilet, there's a drink, and then he could get there when he got there, and I could hand them over safely as well. Adaptation, embrace your new role. The single parenting builds incredible resilience in you and your children. And, I looked at, well, now it's up to me. And I took it on that I didn't have to ask someone all the time, if the kids did or didn't do something, or could or couldn't do something. So I took it on as a challenge, and you do become mum and dad, and that in itself can be, quite confronting, that you've got no one to bounce things off. But it comes back to, who have you got in your inner circle of friends that have got kids a similar age? And I use my girlfriends as the bouncing board of, what they thought about the kids, should they be allowed to be offered a drink at 17, or, should they be allowed to go to such and such a party, or should such and such be allowed to sleep over? So that became a bit of a bouncing board. So ensuring that you've got a trusted group of friends that you do respect their opinion makes a massive difference as well. And the structure, clear routines provide security, and kids thrive when they know what to expect. And I always know that kids in a framework, they actually can relax, and they are less demanding and less naughty when they know that where the boundaries are, because they've already tested them possibly, but then they don't keep going back to them when they know where they are already. So they're not just some unknown that they can just keep behaving badly within. So I was very strict with my kids growing up. I had a very strict bedtime. I knew when they came back from their dads, they probably hadn't had any sleep for a few days. They'd been up watching whatever they were allowed on TV or movies, and they were eating sugar all weekend, so they came back pretty frazzled. So on Monday, I always made sure I had a clear diary when they got home. They came home Sunday night, but I knew they'd be really tired Monday afternoon. And so I set Monday afternoon up to spend a bit more time with them. We always had some healthy food and, good green vegetables. And we always had a quiet night as well. My kids always had a 7:30 bedtime up until high school. And then they stretched to, it was like, I think 8 o'clock, 8:30, sort of. It started growing up in increments till they got to year 10. And then it was free for all, because I said to them, if they're studying, that they need to manage their own ability to be able to be awake and energized and without me over their shoulder. So this was me navigating the new normal of knowing that I was the main parent. And whilst he had them for 2 days a fortnight, he wasn't as influential as I was going to be. And I felt that was a good thing. Some parents I know do co-parenting 50-50. And in those situations, you still have to come back to it's his rules at dad's place and it's my rules at my place. And it's like when they go to their grandmother's or they go to their friend's place and it's their rules. And that's how I kept reinforcing it, that they weren't right and I wasn't wrong, or I wasn't right and they aren't wrong, but they're just different. And you go to a different workplace and you have different rules, and rules are boundaries and their framework that you work within. So this is your role as a mother. It's stretched so much, and we place and have so many hats that we have to wear at many times, but self-care is essential and you can't pour from an empty cup. So prioritizing your well-being isn't selfish and it is necessary. So putting you in the week as well, even though you're racing the kids around to school and sport and all their after school activities, it's so important to know that if you don't fill your cup up, it will become empty. So fill your cup up first and give from the saucer. So you're always filling from and passing out energy from the saucer, not from the cup. So fill your cup up. Don't give from the cup, give from the saucer, and only give from the saucer when the cup's full. And that's such a critical thing. I used to have to get up early because the kids were a bit older, but certainly I wanted to still do the gym and do different, and I was swimming at different times with different activities going on in my life. So I used to get up earlier, and I'd get up at 4:30 or 5 o'clock and do the gym, do my activities then, and then I'd come back, get the kids ready for school. And I set it up, I was working full time, that the kids would actually get themselves physically to school. I did a carpool share with one of the other mums. She would actually drop her daughter off with my daughter, and she would pick my son up, who was the same age as her son, and she would take the two boys to high school. This is when they were 13 and 8, and the two 8-year-olds would stay at my place with me until it was a bit late, another half an hour, and then they would walk together to school, which wasn't very far. It was close down the road. So we did a bit of, who is it that's in your school year or your son or daughter's school year that you could be aligning with, that could be supporting you with school pickups and school drop-offs? That supported us both, because she worked at the high school, so it worked out perfectly for her and it worked out perfectly for me. And after school, I paid somebody, it was a school uni student, and she came along and she picked the kids up from school and she brought them home, and I paid her every afternoon from 3 o'clock till 5:30-ish when I got home, paid her an hourly rate, and she gave the kids afternoon tea and gave them a hot chocolate and something to eat. And the kids had a bit of a play. They had to do their homework, start certainly, and they were able to just have a bit of a chill and knowing someone was responsible at home. And what she did was she brought my washing in and did my washing. She folded it, or she would iron it if there was any ironing to be done as a bit of a side as well. But it was, by the time I got home at 5:30, the kids had most of their homework done, the washing was in, she was ready to leave. The house had a bit of a tidy up as well some days, and I was ready to make dinner with the kids and hear about their day. So it's finding your new routine that works for you, and resist the super mum trap. Perfect parenting doesn't exist. You make mistakes. I made plenty. And it's about, I made a mistake, admitting to it, apologizing to it. If you've made a mistake with one of your kids, say sorry. Say, hey, mum doesn't get it right all the time, but I'm doing my best and I'll do better next time. And them hearing that makes you human, and it gives them a sense of it's okay to say sorry as well, because when we stuff up, we can come back together and we can apologize and we can do it better next time together. So it's, give yourself permission to be absolutely wonderfully human and look at what your self boundaries are and the boundaries with the kids. Don't allow your kids to swear at you because you're a single mum. Don't allow your kids to behave in a disrespectful way. Don't let the kids borrow money off you and not pay it back. One of the things, my daughter, when she was 18, moved over to the other side of Australia. She moved hours away, and at 18, she was going to uni and she was working as well part-time to fund herself to go through the uni over there. And it was a choice she wanted to do because they held a uni degree that wasn't available where we lived. And she told me this day she got herself a dog. I couldn't believe it. I thought, here you are at uni and this dog. And she said, oh, and it cost her a lot of money, like a couple of $1,000s. And anyway, she wanted this dog. She bought this dog and she'd saved up for it. And I was thinking, but what's going to go, if something medically happens to it or something goes wrong, she was adamant. Anyway, she was going to get pet insurance. Before she did, it ate one of her housemates' Nurofen that was found on the floor, ended up in intensive care, and it ended up, she rings me in tears that it was, costing her like $1,500 a day on ICU at the vets on a drip, and it had kidney failure and it might not make it. And so it looked like we're going to have to, fund it, and it was going to cost in the end, it cost $3,000 to have the dog survive, which was wonderful. Still alive today, 8 years on. He's looking beautiful, beautiful little dog. However, she didn't have $3,000. So I said to her, I will lend you the money, but you have to pay it back. And she agreed. So we did a little thing in this wasn't at the time in the trauma, but I got her to sign a little bit of paper after and say, I want you to say that, you owe me this money and that you're going to pay it back. I don't care how frequently or infrequently you pay, because I knew she was working in a coffee shop. But she started paying me $50 a week. And then she was paying me, some weeks were $20 because she had other bills come in. And eventually she had kept a little tally of it. We had a little Google spreadsheet that we kept tallies. Anywho, she paid the $3,000 off. And I didn't charge her interest. I just wanted it to be that it was a lesson that, did I need the $3,000? Well, we all need $3,000, but certainly we can use it ourselves. But certainly I could afford it. And I wanted it to be that she couldn't just make big decisions about big choices in her life, and then other people come in and pick it up and make things work for her as well. So for me, this was about teaching her a lesson of taking responsibility for choices that you make and following them through. So the $3,000 came back, and at different times we've done things together. We bought a property together, an investment unit that she lived in for 12 months, and she was able to buy it in her name and have it so that it was stamp duty and so on discounted. However, we did a financial agreement. I just did a document, signed it, that the property was in joint owned or had an equity in it. And so whatever we do, it's done in writing. She's my daughter, but I'm just sharing this with you because a lot of us, and I see time and time again how often people lend money to their sons or daughters and they don't get the return back, or it's suddenly after a while the repayments stop, or suddenly one lady bought two of her kids a house each, and they were nearly $1 million houses, and the kids were supposed to be, because she had to take assets out of her own name for different reasons, so she decided she'd give them an early inheritance, but they had to pay her rent from the house for the rest of their lives at a subsidized rate, which basically paid for the house, but she was able to live off that rent. That's all she had to live off. And after a couple of years, they both, for different reasons, stopped paying rent. So she ended up having to go back to work. And I said, why don't you just go back and get them to pay rent? And she said, well, they won't. And I'm like, so what is it that you're putting into place that whilst we all think it is lovely at the time, we're going to help them out, that you're actually sabotaging their ability to be role models themselves and be stand-up examples of where they need to be going. So this is you setting the example. It has to be from a place of respect, and it has to be from a place of you knowing that it's, whilst there's love and unconditional love there, an agreement's an agreement, and put it in writing. Hope and healing for the future. Thrive, not just survive. Your best days are ahead, not behind you. So that's that big windscreen, ladies, that you're looking through that's massive, and the small little rear vision mirror that you're looking through that's behind. So what is it that you're looking at that's really, about focusing on the big stuff ahead versus the small stuff that's coming in behind? So this is you thriving, not just surviving, and your best days are absolutely yet to come. And building your village, building that support group. am besties with people now that I never knew when I separated. And I certainly, when I went through my second divorce, my kids were older, they were 18 and 21. And he had 2 kids and we came together as a couple with 4 kids, 2 each. So they were all teenagers at the time. And so navigating all of that was interesting with his ex and my ex, and us forming a new family, and the dynamics around all of that was interesting. But certainly it was about listening and respecting each other. One of the things that we did do early on, and it worked, we did it every week because it was such a success, is every Sunday kids would go to their respective other families, their mum or their dad on the other side, and they'd come home on the Sunday, and we always had Sunday night dinner together. And the Sunday night dinner was sit around and we'd share what we had coming up in the week ahead. So they'd share that they had football training or a football trial, or they had a singing something, or they had a netball grading thing that they were worried about. And so we went around and were able to align our calendars and our expectations for the week ahead. And that worked really well with the 6 of us because we were both working, and of the 4 kids, 2 of them were working as well. And all 4 of them, 3 were teenagers to start with, and the 4th one wasn't far off being a teenager. So it was a real interesting dynamics going through all of that. But we did at the end of each day, when we had dinner together as well, we always sat down, we had a round table, and we had most times I did a grazing plate, because I had one that didn't eat salad, one that didn't eat veggies, one that didn't eat this, one that didn't eat that. And so it was easier just sort of making up, instead of all these different meals, I'd make up just a dish that they'd all help themselves from, and it had different places, different bits of food on it. One was vegetarian and vegan for a while. So it was a real mix. One only ate red meat. Anywho, as a result, we ended up with this platter that the kids we called it the picky plate, that they could pick off. And we sat down, and then the kids would talk about the things that they're grateful for from the day. And they're like, I can't think of anything I'm grateful for. And we say, well, surely there's one thing that you're grateful for. You're here eating a meal in a house that's got a heater going or air conditioning. And so they started coming up with all the things that they were grateful for. And it was a real great forming of the new team, and them acknowledging even each other. They were grateful at times for each other, helping them or doing something, or helping with the homework, or helping with a chore. They all had chores, and they had to all contribute around the house as well. There were some base things that they didn't get paid for, and there was some things that they did get paid for. So if they cleaned the car, that was a bit of a bigger job, they'd get paid $10 to clean it, $10 for the outside, $10 for the inside. If they mowed the lawn, they got $10. But if they're cleaning the pool and picking things up and tidying their room, they didn't get paid for any of that stuff. So it was sort of depending on they all had to do some responsible effort. Just because they lived in the house, the expectation was that they would contribute to the house as well. And your path to co-parenting, it's not easy. It's rough. It's all over the place at times. There's T-junctions, you go left or right. There's stop signs that you just think it's too hard. There's giveaways that you're giving way to people that you don't think you should, or your own feelings at times. And it's no right or wrong. It's you just making sure, one, that you're filling your cup up so that you've got energy, and you've got advice, and you've got a good heart to give as well. It's making sure that you're putting yourself as a priority. And I think that's probably the key one. And it's not been selfish. It's been actually selfish if you don't, because you end up exhausted and burnt out, and then you can't be anything to anyone. So this is some really good tips and strategies. I trust that you take something from it and it can help you as well, because I know that there's no easy way to navigate out there. There's no quick fix, and there's certainly no easy, fast way of getting to the end of it. It's really going through as a team. You and your kids and your ex is part of that team, and it's making sure that he's a respected part as well, that you're showing respect to him, to the kids, and also to your maybe future partner's ex as well, so that the kids are able to see it by example, that there is a really healthy way out there to be able to navigate difficult situations, and also communicate in a way. I always had, if there was a confrontational discussion to have, I used to flip it into, how can we create this to be a carefrontational expectation and conversation. So when I had to have those conversations, I used to come in from a place of my outcome. My outcome is that we move forward in a way that's respectful and we're all able to get to a place that we want to. And I always looked at how I could approach it from a confrontational way versus a confrontational. And that was with my ex as well as the kids. And you know, it is at the end of the day, the kids have ended up in a great place. They are in healthy, beautiful relationships and beautiful souls themselves. And it's just through them having that diversity and understanding, and still had a really good relationship with their father along the way as well. And that's what I wanted, my kids to be healthy and happy. So stay with your outcomes, stay with your goals, stay with also your own credibility. You've got this, as tough as it is. Some days are crazy, and know that it isn't just you out there on your own. There's an amazing supportive group here that you can come in and connect in as well. Thanks for the time, and I trust this has helped you, and I look forward to seeing you online.